Hey, how you doing? So this is Neil, the art instructor. I'm gonna be bringing you guys here a little lesson on how I draw a Skeksis. Is that how it's said? Anyway, from Dark Crystal, the movie. The first one here I'm laying down. I don't end up using it. It was an idea I had for the initial layout of him kind of having a kind of back turn, but his head turned toward us, and his arm kind of out in a dismissive way. I decided I didn't like that, and I wanted to redraw it with him facing us at a three-quarter turn toward us, which makes the head a lot harder to draw. Whenever you're drawing like anything that's like a lizard head, or I think anything that has like a long snout, horses and stuff, the hardest way to draw them is three-quarter turns. I think it's the hardest way to draw any head, even a human head, but I think it makes it especially harder to draw these kinds of heads. But nonetheless, without any sort of studying of this creature, obviously I've seen the movie, and I think it still holds up good to this day. Right now I'm laying in the basic forms. It's really important, I think, whenever you're doing any sort of drawing or painting, to lay in your basic forms, because without those basic forms, you have no kind of guideline to make sure everything's in its proper proportion and size. Make sure everything looks good. And also, it makes you not waste time. If you just lay in very basic shapes and forms, it takes you very little time to do. And so you can tell, hey, is something wrong? And if something's wrong, it's really easy to fix. Please watch this in full screen, because if you're not in full screen mode, you probably won't be able to see a lot of these lines, since I'm using a 6H pencil right now, which is really hard lead, so very, very light. Then I'm going to go over it with 6B on the parts that I want to really pop out. The part of his shirt that's going to be white, that part I'm going to leave with the lighter pencil shading. Anyway, it was really hard to find any references from the movie that shows his full body, so I kind of had to just guess. I did find one picture of him at a museum, totally different angle and stuff, but it was still, at least I was able to kind of see like how they looked. Now, I imagine what I should have done is, now that I think about it, is I should have drawn him much skinnier, his clothing, everything, as if he was actually kind of like a lizard person, because I think that's the idea behind them anyway. So I should have drawn it like it was actually a lizard person, and drawn it to where he was lot skinnier. And I think the reason why they were so big in the movie, as far as how like huge their bodies are, is because they had to be able to fit a puppeteer inside this thing that would, puppeteer it and make it move around and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah. Now that I thought about it afterwards, I even thought about while I was drawing, I'm like, this guy's huge. Like this looks like a puppet. And I should have reimagined what would this creature look like if it were actually a real creature, and it would probably be pretty thin, being a lizard type body underneath, and therefore its drapery would drape to that frame, and it would be very, very lot thinner. But maybe he's wearing some sort of headdress type of thing that's made of harder material that allows this kind of cool structure to come around his head. I would leave that, but the rest of the clothing I think I would have had come down and cling to his body. But maybe he has something, maybe they just wear something. We can imagine they just wear something underneath that makes their clothing pop out, kind of like those old dresses back in the 1800s and stuff, in the old Western days where they had these big butts and stuff, and the whole dress looked like it just kind of popped out around their body a lot more than it should because it had built-in like wireframing or something. Anyway, so laying in some of the values here with the 6H pencil. One thing you don't want to do too much is to lay too much value with the 6H pencil that you're going to be going over with the 6B pencil. I noticed that the 6B lead doesn't really like to go over the 6H lead so well. Now I'm busting out my 6H pencil. These are clutch pencils, by the way. You can just look up a clutch pencil on Amazon. That's where I bought mine at. And you can buy different leads for them. It's 2mm lead, so it's quite thick lead. It's the same thickness of lead that you would find in a regular wooden pencil. This is actually this is really fine detail right here. This is a 3mm or 0.3mm lead, very, very tiny for draftsmanship and stuff like that. I can get really fine details with this thing because the head's so small. And that's using 4H lead. You can buy different lead for that. The 4H lead was actually really hard to find, even on Amazon, for that pencil, for the 0.3mm lead. Most of it was like, I meant 4B, sorry. Most of it was 2B or HB. I wanted a little bit darker lead, so I found the 4B. This here, that's a smudge stick that I'm using right there. That's just to kind of smudge some of the colors together, so it kind of gets rid of some of the texture. I wanted it to kind of be a little smoother in some parts there. That's a gum eraser, Magic Gum Eraser by Prismacolor. It's actually made to erase Prismacolors. That right there was an electric eraser. And it has two different types of erasers that go into it, fine and finer. And I have just the regular tip on there, but the fine tip is really cool for really nice detail. You can like erase and add little little textures and stuff. I'm trying to keep this loose like a sketch. I don't want to get too detailed with it. By the way, for those that don't know who I am one of the top art instructors at Udemy with over 30,000 happy students taking my courses. And you can find me, my links in the description. It's masterpaintingnow.com. I have a lot of sales going on right now, so you can get courses that are normally, we're talking about real courses that you would find like in a actually we can't even find them in really good schools. You have to find it like in a private type of thing where you pay an artist to teach you privately lessons, and it'd be very expensive. And so normally a lot of those courses are anywhere from $65 to like $165. But right now there's a lot of them on sale for $12 on my site, so it's a really good chance to pick that up. Anyway, so and I teach how to draw from imagination. It's something that is a lot of artists don't teach, and you can apply that and draw from reference a lot easier if you can draw from imagination. So a lot of this right here had to be done from imagination because there wasn't a lot of references I can look at. So I had to kind of imagine, what it looked like especially his hands, because the puppet's hands look very fat and ugly. Anyway, so we're just about done here. Hey, if you enjoy this, please do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. After you subscribe, go to the homepage there. There's a little bell next to the subscribe button. Hit notifications. That way you'll be notified when I come out with new stuff. If you'll be the first one to see the new stuff that comes out. And then also share it, because if you liked it, the chances are other people will also dig it. So, especially fans of Dark Crystal. And here it is. I'm just showing some close-ups now with the camera, so you can kind of get a better idea. Notice very loose. That's done on purpose. This is a sketch. It's not supposed to be a final rendering. What's important though is that you capture the values. You want a nice range of values from light to dark. You don't want too much light and too much dark. So that's why I'm using kind of an off-white paper. And I don't add any white into that. In fact, I cover up most all the paper too with some sort of lead. That way nothing is left to be even the color of the paper, which is still an off-white color. If we're working on white paper, definitely want to cover it with with a little bit of lead, because you don't want pure white to come through unless it's like really blown out for a reason. All right, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and happy drawing.